Hello everybody, today we are at Jim Thorpe, which was formerly called Mauch Chunk in Carbon County, Pennsylvania. This anthracite kind of tells a story how this town was formed. Just like many towns around the area, it was formed around the coal mine. But there is a little more to the story of this town, but for that we're gonna have to go back in time. Well, maybe not that far. We're gonna go a little further. A little more. The year is 1791. Philip Grinder discovers anthracite coal in Sharp Mountain, which is now called Summerhill. Then in 1818, Josiah White and Arkansas Harvard started building the Lehigh Navigation. In 1828, the Mauch Chunk gravity road was constructed. It was an engineering marvel in that time because it would use gravity to send the coal cars down, and then they would use mules to pull them up. In 1840, the Industrial Revolution began in the United States. By 1845, coal mining made Mauch Chunk as one of the America's wealthiest towns. 1854, the railroad was constructed connecting Mauch Chunk to Easton. And here's a story about the man who built this town.
Children, but he had businesses elsewhere in Virginia and even out in Wyoming. But all the gentlemen on that left wall are the ones that built and created the town. So the two in the left column, Josiah White and Erskine Hazard, started the town in 1818. And they came here to get anthracite coal as a fuel source for their factory. So they got the last bit of coal the previous miners had floated down the river. A lot of those boats broke up in the rapids, but their plan was to create a canal next to the river, which they did do. So it took about 2 years, 300 laborers, all hand picks, shovels, axes, through this Lehigh Canal.
And now let's take a walk down the Broadway and enjoy some nice architecture of Jim Thorpe. Hotel Switzerland has been operating since 1830 and still does function as a regular hotel. The region of Carbon County used to be known as American Switzerland. Right next to the Switzerland Hotel is the memorial dedicated to everyone who fought in the Civil War. Towards the bottom of the monument, there's also a plaque dedicated for everyone who died in action during World War II. And here's a great example of a Victorian-style house with the treasure shop on the first floor. Buildings in this town are from that era, and they are so well restored and well maintained. It almost feels like they were just built or brand new. Walk down the street, we see a lot of souvenir shops just like this one we see here, and a lot of interesting boutiques and stores just so you can find things that you'll never find anywhere else. This tea shop at the Opera Square is actually a historical building landmark, and it was reputed one of the first residences built in Jim Thorpe in 1822. This is definitely a brilliant way to lure the customers in because every person walking by is actually seeing those bubbles and they wonder what's in this store. And of course, because we're in the Broadway, and just like by the Broadway in Manhattan, you have the horse carriage rides here. Get on and take a ride, even on a rainy day. I think taking this ride will kind of take you back in time and you will navigate the narrow streets of the town, which originally was built for the carriage. And here comes Jim Thorpe Trolley Tours. They take you around the town in a lot of historic places, and they also take you around the town. It's a very nice way to kind of get familiar with the area and the history. It also takes you all the way up to the mountaintop to actually where you could see the entire town and region from. This Italianate Victorian townhouse was the home of U.S. Congressman Milo Dominic and his family. His son Milton founded Dominic Memorial Library in Old Mauch Chunk in their memory. And here's another example of Victorian architecture. This house is well restored and preserved. And here's the example of the narrow street that was actually built for horse and carriage, not cars. Mauch Chunk Opera House, formerly known as Capitol Theater, was built in 1881 by architect Edison Hutton on Milliners Row. And this is a Presbyterian church of Jim Thorpe. The congregation was actually first formed in 1829 and they built their first church in 1848. And here's the Mauch Chunk Historical Museum, which is located in the restored Victorian church sanctuary. And right next to the museum is a Victorian style building which is apartments, so if you really want to get that era experience you can rent an apartment here. This house is the oldest complete and unchanged home existing from the early history of Mauch Chunk. Built in 1844 as a parsonage by the Reverend Webster, famous pastor of the Presbyterian Church. Of course, like many towns of that time, it does have a town jail as well, which was built in 1871. There are a lot of legends and stories about this jail that now became a museum. Let's go up those steps and explore more of this place. On June 21st, 1877, 4 Molly Maguires, an alleged secret society of Irish mine workers, were hanged here. We will see this place a little bit later. Testimony by Pinkerton detective James McLaren led to the conviction for violent crimes against the coal industry. Yet, the facts of the labor class and ethnic conflicts, even the existence of organization, remain contested. This execution is also known as a legend of the innocent man. I'm assuming this bench probably existed since the jail was built, and if we look up, those bars are probably original as well. As we walk into those heavy doors, we get into the main area, and that's where they used to bring the prisoners and visitors first. And if we turn to the left, of course, just like every other museum, it has a gift shop. And we bought some original souvenir handcuffs from here. Quick overview, we're going down to the first level. That's where they kept their male prisoners. Those are electric lights, but just imagine when they had to use the candle lights, it was probably so much darker in here. You could probably hardly see.
Room. Down here during the winter is probably 90 to 100 degrees, and not to mention the smell of buckets overflowing.
This is what the jail looked like with a small little window up there, so they get a little bit of sunlight, and basically 4 walls around them. And this sink is probably a little more updated because this jail was functional until 1950. Here's a view what prisoners saw from out their cell when the door was open. And here's the second level of the prison with this common area and the execution place if we turn around.
This handprint will remain here as long to prove my innocence. As long as it stays here, it will show and prove to you that you hung an innocent man. So we chiseled it out, repainted over it, re-cemented it, really anything we could think of. Even the warden tried to use soap. It did not work. So after we couldn't get the handprint off, he thought maybe one of the guards was messing with him. So he decided to do a DNA test. He had one of the scientists from Wilkes-Barre University come down, do a DNA test, and the results came back and ended up, the only thing that they found was paint from the original wall.
And here's the handprint on cell 17 that we heard about before. So according to the legend, as long as it stays here, it proves the innocence of Molly Maguire. And we upstairs in the warden quarters. This little window served as a surveillance for Warden to actually see what's going on in the prison. Right across from Warden's quarters on the same level, women's part of the prison was located. That's what they looked like. And since this jail has been used until 1950, some of the sink and the toilet are a little more modern than you see in 1800s when this prison was first built. This is a two-person cell. This mannequin wearing a real jail uniform from the new jail. And their windows had the bars and the cage on top of that. I'm guessing for the security reasons, because there were a few escapes here. And here's the living room of the warden quarters. At the beginning, when the jail was built, Warden's wife used to cook for her family and for prisoners as well. Warden and his family were able to leave the premises as they pleased. Their windows still had bars on them, and they were surrounded by the barbed wire. And of course, our story would not be complete without telling you about the Coal Mine No. 9 Museum. The museum includes carved pieces of coal, photographs, painting, models, and miner's kitchen replica and other artifacts. It also has tools, food cans, blast equipment that belong to the miners. Coal Mine No. 9 opened in 1855 and operated till 1972. It has a 900-foot elevator shaft. It's definitely a great example of the coal mining history of the region. Now let's go back to the present. Now we're back to our timeline. I go to 1954 and find out how Mauch Chunk became Jim Thorpe, which is a very remarkable story. I am going to start with the question, how many of you know who Jim Thorpe was? For those of you who know, please pause this video and comment below. Jim Thorpe was a famous Native American athlete. He was perhaps one of the greatest athletes of 20th century. His abilities to participate in different sports and being able to succeed were just amazing. He was the first Native American athlete to win gold medal in the Olympics for the United States. Considered one of the most versatile athletes of modern sports, he won 2 Olympic gold medals in 1912 Summer Olympics. Died from a heart attack in 1953 at the age of 64. Fortunately, his home state of Oklahoma refused to erect a memorial in his honor. Wife Patricia struck a deal with officials from Mauch Chunk to move athlete's remains to the town and to rename the town after him. They have also built a memorial around his grave. Later on, his children wanted his body to be moved back to Oklahoma and buried there, but the court did not decide in their favor.
Jim Thorpe is here to stay. The United States Supreme Court has refused to hear the latest appeal from the former Olympian's family, which means his remains are staying put here in Carbon County.
Thank you so much for watching us. I hope you enjoy this journey into the history of Mauch Chunk, or Jim Thorpe, which is the current name, as much as we did. Till next time. By the way, Mauch Chunk means the bare place in Native American language.